Oh, uh, hi there. I didn't see you come in. You know, in this castle, it's tradition on Christmas Eve to pour a cup of eggnog, throw on a classic film, and open just one present. Let's see what we've got. Too heavy. No. Ooh, this one looks good. I got one of these last year. There there's some good Christmas horror films and quite a few bad ones. But if you ask me to choose a single essential entry, there's really no contest. Tonight, I'd like to discuss one of the bleakest, truest, and most frightening films of all time. I am the Count von Curdles, and it's my pleasure to tell you about Black Christmas. Directed by Bob Clark and starring Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, Keir Dullea, and John Saxon, Black Christmas concerns a sorority house targeted by a madman. As his misdeeds escalate from obscene phone calls to murder, it seems the danger may be closer than anyone realizes. Most people think of Halloween as the first slasher movie, but that's not necessarily correct. John Carpenter's film is an absolute classic, and while its success kicked off the slasher craze, it didn't invent the formula. Black Christmas did, 4 years earlier. You'll notice a lot of similarities. There's the faceless killer, the elaborate murders, the POV camera work, the focus on young people with a female protagonist. We can find each of these things in earlier films like Psycho and Peeping Tom, but Black Christmas was the first to draw these disparate influences together and present them in their familiar form. It also has a strong whodunit element, a holdover from giallo movies like Blood and Blacklace or The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And it's here that the differences between Bob Clark's film and John Carpenter's become apparent. While formally similar, they may as well take place on different planets. Halloween is set in a world where pure evil lurks in suburbia, and good people rise up to struggle against it. Evil can be tracked, can be fought, can be temporarily driven back. Black Christmas is set in a world where evil can't even be identified. This isn't good struggling against bad. It's chaos bubbling up beneath normalcy's floorboards. The killer's in the house before anyone even knows there's a killer to fear. As disturbed as they are by the caller's threats, the girls can't fathom the idea that he might really follow through on them. And there isn't a single authority figure in the film who's prepared to meet the maniac in the attic. How could they be? He's a complete cipher, cycling through voices that aren't his own, picking up tics and phrases from people he spies on. Throughout the film, he rants and rambles about a disturbed boy named Billy doing something horrible to a baby girl named Agnes. Perhaps it's safe to assume that this is his history, and he's simply compelled to retell it again and again. But perhaps not. We can only take him at his word, after all, and as his phone calls demonstrate, he's not exactly reliable. By the end of the film, we know less about him than we do Michael Myers, the poster boy for mysterious killers in fiction. Michael's crimes are on the books, his modus operandi a matter of record. You may not know why he does it, but you know what he's going to do. There's a clockwork precision to his actions that makes for a very suspenseful movie. But an irrational mind scares me far more than a cruel one. Billy is the terrifying unknown made flesh. Chaos and insanity taking up residence in your home. Go on and look for him if it makes you feel better. He lives in the rooms you've forgotten. There is one thing Billy tells us that we can't question, however. He hates women. Listen to his most coherent line of the film, which comes just after Barb rebukes him.
I'm going to kill you.
This isn't the only instance of misogyny in Black Christmas. See how the cops treat the sorority girls, how they refuse to take their claims seriously, how casually hostile and obstinate they are.
Probably just one of your boyfriends playing a little joke.
Distrust and disbelief are the order of the day, and it takes angry male voices to get an actual useful cop on the case. But even the smart and sure Lieutenant Fuller fails at a crucial moment, talking over the girls when they could have identified where Billy was calling from. His confidence and bluster, brief as it is, spells their doom. Oh, and then there's Peter. Oh, Peter. Keir Dullea, most famous for his starring role in 2001: A Space Odyssey, here plays an antagonist just as chilling as HAL 9000.
Well, you scared the hell out of me, too.
At first glance, he only seems like a clingy boyfriend. But scratch the surface of the man, you'll find a petulant, controlling child. In one of the film's most powerful and famous scenes, just tells Peter that she's pregnant, and that she's going to get an abortion. Peter doesn't like that. He grows pushy and sullen, soon asserting his ownership of a fetus that he didn't even know existed 5 minutes before. In a world where abortion access is, sadly, still up for debate, it still strikes a chord. Olivia Hussey delivers a masterclass performance here, one that reminds me more than a little of Shelley Duvall in The Shining. Listen to how carefully she chooses her words, how she tries to shield Peter's feelings. She knows on some level that asserting herself will set him off. And though she speaks highly of him elsewhere in the film, she's not shocked by his reaction, only by its severity. Later, Lieutenant Fuller comes to suspect that Peter is the killer, which isn't a bad theory. He gets hysterical when he's challenged and violent when he's rejected. He calls the house in a state of histrionic despair, and he knows one of the victims. He fits the profile. Ultimately, this is just a red herring. That's the twist. There was never any hope of sleuthing out the killer's identity, because he's a random maniac with no connection to the girls. But on a rewatch, it reads less like a surprise ending and more like the last word in the movie's thesis. That the world is cruel and chaotic, so full of hate and disregard for women that they aren't safe around strangers, friends, or lovers. They're just as likely to be victimized by their boyfriends as they are the boogeyman. A murderous stranger offers comforting words. A familiar face gives in to destructive rage. Perhaps Billy is faceless not because he's no one, but because he is everyone. Peter's not the killer, but that's only true this time. All this and it's funny, too.
Ho, 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 shit.
One of the other great strengths of Black Christmas is how it walks the tightrope between chilling horror and breezy humor. It's the juxtaposition of Billy's threats and Barb's razor-sharp tongue, Mr. Harrison's stuffy disapproval of his daughter's living quarters, and her gruesome fate just a few feet above his head. It's the warmest, coziest set of Christmas lights you've ever seen, and the most threatening shots of empty rooms this side of Twin Peaks. It's a perfect fit for the Christmas season, that time of joy and goodwill that seems to become a bigger pain in the ass every year. How appropriate that this film of stirring contradictions was directed by the same man who'd bring us A Christmas Story just a few years later. It's for all these reasons and more that Black Christmas is one of my favorite films, and makes for our first entry on the slasher calendar. It's the standard by which all future holiday horror movies will be judged. I could go on and on about how great it is, about the late Olivia Hussey and Margot Kidder, but I can't pretend that my ability to praise their work compares in any way to watching it. There's really nothing else quite like Black Christmas. Okay, before I go, yes, there are 2 remakes. The first one came in 2006 and is very 2006-y. If the gentleman is interested in a sordid tale about a murderous voyeur with scary eyes and a liver problem striking from small spaces, and he insists that it be from Glenn Morgan and James Wong, might I instead recommend Squeeze from the first season of The X-Files? I prefer it over the House Special. Why does Billy look like a Simpson? As for the second remake, that came out in 2019. And, to be honest, I would rather smash my right hand with a mallet than talk about it in this video. Yes, I'm sure. Merry Christmas! Fuck!